Have you ever felt like your brain just didn't come with this standard instruction manual? Well, my friend, if that sounds like you are in exactly the right place. Today, we are going to build one together. It's a user manual specifically for a brain that is incredibly powerful, super creative, and sometimes unbelievably frustrating. Does this question hit close to home? You know, that deep, gut-wrenching feeling when you've tried your absolute best. You know exactly what you should be doing, but somehow you fall short again. This isn't a personal failure. It's a clue. It's a diagnostic question that points to a very specific kind of operating system. And here is the absolute key to understanding everything. If you have ADHD, the problem isn't a knowledge deficit. You're smart. You know what needs to get done. The real issue is a performance deficit. It's a gap based in your neurology between what you intend to do and what you actually do. It's that classic gap between knowing and doing. And this leads to the great paradox of the ADHD experience, being consistently inconsistent. I mean, one day you are a productivity genius. You're on fire. You're crushing your entire to-do list. And the next day, you can't even bring yourself to start the smallest, easiest task. This is not a character flaw. It's not laziness. It is the absolute hallmark of our brain's wiring. So, let's pop the hood and take a look inside. If we really want to thrive, we have to understand the unique mechanics of this particular operating system. Because once we finally get the why behind it all, the how to make things work becomes so much clearer. Okay, so let's start with your executive functions. The best way to think about them is like the conductor of your brain's orchestra. All your skills, all your knowledge, those are the talented musicians. They know how to play their instruments perfectly. But if the conductor gets distracted or just wanders off stage, what do you get? You get chaos. Even with the most brilliant musicians in the world. Dr. Edward Hallowell just nails it with this quote. He says, "You have a Ferrari engine with bicycle brakes." Just think about that for a second. The problem isn't the powerful high-performance engine. The problem is that you were given these tiny, inadequate brakes. So the goal isn't to slow down the Ferrari, it's to build a much better braking system. Now, let's talk about what actually fuels the Ferrari engine. See, most brains run on a blend of things like importance, obligation, and maybe some rewards. But the ADHD brain? Oh no. It runs on a very specific, high-octane kind of fuel. It has what we call an interest-based nervous system. That means it engages based on what's personally compelling, not just what's a priority on the list. And that special fuel comes in 4 main types: interest, novelty, challenge, and urgency. If a task has one of those elements, your Ferrari just roars into life. But if it doesn't, if it's just a boring but important task, the engine stalls out completely. And that is why just try harder is literally the worst advice that anyone could ever give you. You know that living with this kind of brain, especially without the right supports in place, it can come at a really high emotional cost. This is so much more than just a struggle with focus or organization. It is a deeply emotional experience. Let's talk about one of the biggest emotional barriers out there. It's called the wall of awful. This is that invisible force field that you feel slam up in front of you when you try to start a task that you've struggled with before. It's the real reason procrastination feels less like a choice and more like total paralysis. And that wall, it's built brick by painful brick. From every past failure, every critical comment somebody made, every ounce of shame you have felt, and that deep-seated fear of failing again. So it looks like a time management problem is actually an emotional regulation problem. You're not avoiding the task. You're avoiding that awful feeling of hitting that wall. And to compound all of this, there's something called rejection sensitivity dysphoria, or RSD. Basically, it's an extreme emotional sensitivity, a really intense pain that gets triggered by the real or perceived feeling of being rejected or criticized. It doesn't even have to be real. It's why a tiny little mistake can feel absolutely world-ending and devastating. Okay, that was the why, and I know it's heavy stuff, but understanding it is truly the key to freedom. So now, let's get to the good part. Let's build our new blueprint, a set of real, actionable strategies that actually work with your brain instead of constantly fighting against it. The foundation of everything, and I mean everything, is principle 1, radical acceptance. My friend, you have got to stop trying to fix yourself. You are not broken. You are not a broken version of a normal person. You are a perfectly wired ADHD person. This isn't a flaw. It's just how your brain is built. This quote from Casey Davis is an absolute game changer. Care tasks are morally neutral. Let that sink in. A pile of laundry or a sink full of dishes is a logistical problem. It is not a reflection of your character or your worth as a human being. Detaching that shame is one of the most powerful things that you can ever do. Principle 2. You have to externalize everything because your internal working memory, let's just say it is not the most reliable. You can't just try harder to remember things. You have to build an external brain because for you, out of sight, out of mind isn't just a cute saying. It is a fundamental law of physics. So what does the external brain actually look like in real life? Well, it means putting everything you need to remember outside of your head and into your physical space. Think a big visible whiteboard or planner, multiple labeled alarms on your phone for, well, everything, or creating a launch pad by the door, a little basket or bowl where your keys, wallet, and phone always live. So leaving the house isn't a 20-minute scavenger hunt. And that brings us to our third principle, hacking your motivation. Remember that interest-based nervous system we talked about? You can't force it to care about boring stuff, but you can learn to create the fuel it needs to get going. This is all about working smarter, not harder. So here are a few simple ways to generate your own fuel. You can create a challenge by gamifying a task. Just set a timer for 15 minutes and race to see how much you can clean. You can manufacture interest by pairing a boring chore with something you love, like only letting yourself listen to your favorite podcast whilst you're folding laundry. Or you can even try body doubling, which is just like having someone else in the room or even on a video call while you work. Their presence alone can be magic for your focus. So when we start to put all of these pieces together, the acceptance, the external systems, the motivation acts, we end up with a completely new path forward. It is a path that isn't about more effort or more willpower, but about a much, much better strategy. This right here is the ultimate reframe. For years, you've probably been told to just try harder, which is like telling someone to just pedal harder on their bicycle brakes to stop a Ferrari. It makes no sense, and it just doesn't work. The path forward is to try different. Please let that one really sink in. You are not broken. You are not lazy. You are not a failure. You have simply been operating a high-performance machine without the right instructions. And now you have the beginnings of that user's manual. So you can finally start building a life that truly works for you. So I'll leave you with this question. What is one small, totally manageable way you can start trying different? Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Now, let's jump into the Good Enough AI coach to support you.